Ronaldo edges closer to a Man City move. PSG to turn their attention to Haaland. The Champions League group stage fixtures have been announced, and a transfer window wrap brought to you by our friends at cryptocurrency trading platform Bybit. All coming up on today's OneFootball Daily News. As I'm your host Angelina Kelly, let's get into it. So first up, and for Premier League fans, it is a dream come true. For Manchester United fans, it's an absolute nightmare. But it is becoming more and more realistic that Cristiano Ronaldo could actually be making the move to Manchester City. So according to Sky Sports News, the player has reportedly told Juventus that he does not want to be at the club and that he wants to be sold. He has also reportedly reiterated this to his teammates, and he's cleared out his metaphorical locker at the club and may not even be available for their next game. So journalist Fabrizio Romano has stated that Manchester City seems to be Ronaldo's next destination. Now, Juventus do want about 28 to 30 million euros for the player. Man City are weighing up if they actually want to pay this fee. I mean, they've just spent £100 million on Jack Grealish. I'm a bit confused as to why they can't stretch to about 30 million euros for Ronaldo. Meanwhile, his salary is looking like it's going to be a little bit less. So he's currently on reportedly about 31 million euros a year with Juventus. This would actually go down to about 15 million with Manchester City, and meanwhile his agent Jorge Mendes is apparently negotiating personal terms with the club. And simultaneously, Juventus are considering who could actually replace Ronaldo. Now, obviously, they're not going to get a perfect replacement. The club did reportedly express interest in bringing Manchester City's Gabriel Jesus in the opposite direction to Turin, but Pep Guardiola has reportedly stated that he does not want the player to leave the club. Therefore, Juventus have reportedly switched their attention to Everton's Moise Kean. He had a great loan spell with PSG. He is back in Merseyside now, but Juventus aren't 100% that they will go for the player. They're going to wait and see what actually happens with the Ronaldo situation and then decide on what replacements they could bring in. And then when you look at Manchester City, Fabrizio Romano has also stated that a few players could be departing. Well, the main one that's being talked about is Raheem Sterling. Of course, he does tend to play on the left wing. He's kind of been replaced by Jack Grealish. He can potentially play on the right, but of course you've got Riyad Mahrez, Ferran Torres, etc. So there doesn't really seem to be much space for him. And then you throw in Ronaldo, who can also play on the wings and will probably be playing as more of a centre forward role. There's not a lot of space for Sterling, so I can understand why he could be departing. He is such a fantastic player. He was brilliant for England at Euro 2020, and he definitely deserves more game time, so it'll be interesting to see where he could potentially head. In the meantime, it seems like Juventus are just waiting for Manchester City's official bid, and if this goes through, this will be the icing on top of the cake in what has been an absolutely insane transfer window. I'd be ill, it would really upset me because the reason I started watching La Liga was when Ronaldo moved to Real Madrid. I'm such a Ronaldo fan. Being a Man United fan, I've loved Ronaldo for so many years and I might cry. So next up, and we are heading to PSG, and at one point earlier on in the month, it seemed like PSG were done with their transfer window dealings, but it seems like they could be throwing their hat back into the ring. Of course, there is the Kylian Mbappe situation. Reports have come through from yesterday that Real Madrid have made another official offer for the player of around 170 million euros. And reportedly, PSG and Real Madrid are having positive conversations, and they could actually be working towards a deal. So if this does happen, and if in the next couple of days Mbappe does depart to Real Madrid, who could PSG potentially bring in as a replacement? According to reports from L'Equipe, the club are now turning their attention to Erling Haaland. Of course, the Dortmund star has been linked with multiple clubs over the last year. He is one of the most talked about, most talented strikers that there is in world football at the moment. So it would definitely make sense that PSG would look to a player like that to bring in as a replacement. And of course, they would have the money from the Mbappe sale to put towards getting Haaland. However, like I say, if they do get 170 million euros plus for Mbappe, that means that they would have the funds to potentially buy other players that maybe aren't on the same level as Haaland, but are still pretty talented. Now, regarding this actually happening over the next couple of days, I'll be honest, I'm not too sure if I can see this happening. I think that if Haaland was going to depart from Dortmund, he would have done earlier on in the summer. I think that his movement will probably be happening next summer, but it would have been great for fans to have seen not only Lionel Messi and Neymar linking up, but to have Haaland in the mix as well. Yeah, it would would have been great, but for now, I think that Haaland will be staying at Dortmund. So last night in Istanbul, the Champions League draw was announced, and there are some pretty interesting fixtures that will be taking place in the group stage. So both groups A and B have been dubbed the groups of death. In Group A, you've got Manchester City, who will be facing PSG. Of course, Manchester City did beat them in the semi-finals of last season's competition, and depending on transfers, it could be Lionel Messi versus Cristiano Ronaldo. They will also be facing RB Leipzig, who will provide some fierce competition, and Club Brugge, who could potentially surprise. Meanwhile, in Group B, there are 4 giants of European football that will be going head-to-head. You've got Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, Porto and AC Milan, as of course Luis Suarez will prepare with Atletico to face his former Merseyside team. Meanwhile, in Group E, we will get to see Barcelona face Bayern Munich once again as Ronald Koeman prepares for a European campaign without Lionel Messi, and they will also face Benfica and Dynamo Kiev. And of course, there is Sheriff, the Moldovan side, who will be featuring for the first time in the competition. And in their group, they will be facing the likes of Shakhtar, Real Madrid and Inter Milan. So for this team, like I say, their first time in the competition, to be playing at the likes of the San Siro, the Santiago Bernabeu, it must be a dream come true. Meanwhile, for the current champions of the competition, Chelsea, they will not have it easy in Group H, as they will face the likes of Juventus, who will of course have Max Allegri back at the helm in the competition, also Zenit St. Petersburg and Swedish champions Malmo. And finally, Manchester United will have the chance to redeem themselves and maybe get a little bit of revenge in their group, as they of course will face Villarreal, who did beat them in the Europa League final last season in that very lengthy penalty shootout, and they will also face Atalanta and Young Boys. So like I say, some great fixtures there, and in addition, on the night the UEFA Player of the Year was announced. For the men, it was Jorginho who won, and for the women, it was Barcelona's Alexia Putellas. And now we have our transfer window wrap, brought to you by our friends at cryptocurrency trading platform Bybit. And first up, according to reports in Italy, AC Milan may be set to hijack Corinthians' attempts to sign Arsenal midfielder Willian. Wolverhampton Wanderers have reportedly rejected a bid from Tottenham Hotspur to try and sign Adama Traore. And speaking of Tottenham, they are also reportedly interested in a £40 million move for Juventus player Weston McKennie. Meanwhile, over in Germany, it seems like Borussia Dortmund could be interested in signing Manchester United defender Diogo Dalot, who has also reportedly had interest from AC Milan and Bayern Munich. And last but by no means least, we have Friday Feels. This is where I give you guys some of my predictions ahead of the weekend's fixtures. Don't forget, in the comment section, you can also give us your predictions, and if you were correct with some of them, we may read them out on Monday's Daily News. So first up, we've got Liverpool versus Chelsea. This is going to be such a massive fixture. Both teams have had great starts to their Premier League campaigns. However, you cannot underestimate the atmosphere at Anfield. It may almost act as an extra man for Liverpool. However, as much as that will be great for them, I'm not too sure it will be enough for a win, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Over in the Bundesliga, we have Wolfsburg versus RB Leipzig. Now, of course, Wolfsburg are at the top of the table after the first 2 games, but I just feel like Leipzig are going to have enough to manage to get a victory over them, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Leipzig. And finally, over in La Liga, Real Madrid will face Real Betis. Now, Gareth Bale has actually had quite a good run of form over the last few games under Carlo Ancelotti, so I'm going to predict that he will be on the score sheet. So that's everything for today's OneFootball Daily News. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, I will see you all later.